not just women are in danger, but all marginalized people, where being uniquely different right now might truly be considered a crime. It seems as though we had all slipped into a false sense of comfort, that justice would prevail and that good would win in the end. Well, good did not win this election, but good will win in the end. So what today means is that we are far from the end. Today marks the beginning of our story. The revolution starts here. The fight for the right to be free, to be who we are, to be equal. Let's march together through this darkness, and with each step, know that we are not afraid. That we are not alone. That we will not back down. That there is power in our unity, and that no opposing force stands a chance in the face of true solidarity. And to our detractors that insist that this march will never add up to anything,
Boston Red here with Friday Java, a weekly magazine of political theory, polling, and commentary. It is part of the history called people that make up this fascinating journey. We are part of the Obama network. For that, we make no apologies. What we pledge to do is give you the facts on a bridge to history, what body politics is, the most up-to-date theories of political science and psychology. Stay tuned for this incredible ride. Boston Red, peace out.
Friday Jobber on the 24th of November 2017 from WBRN Radio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network. Uncle Carl Rove is off tonight, so we will not hear from him on the week that was. And our friends at the University of Virginia, Charlottesville, the authors of the Crystal Ball, they are also off because of the holiday, which does happen. We'll talk about the senator, former comedian Al Franken. We'll look at his saga a little differently. First, we'll start out from his hometown newspaper, where he addresses his constituency there in Minnesota. Senator Franken vows to regain Minnesota's trust after harassment allegations. This is in Washington, the Dateline here, and it's by Jennifer Brooks of the Star Tribune. Senator Franken plans to stay in the Senate and try to win back the Minnesotans' trust. The Minnesota Democrat, who has been accused by 4 women, 2 of them anonymously of inappropriate contact, issued a Thanksgiving afternoon apology and pledged he wrote that he feels terrible that I made some women feel badly. He called himself a warm person who likes to hug people when they are being photographed with him, but clearly his embrace crossed the line for some women. Although his statement did not directly address the question of whether he might resign, he vowed to move ahead with the efforts to regain the trust of the people of Minnesota. The accusations which have left Franken facing a Senate ethics investigation have touched off a fierce debate amongst the progressive supporters over what level of sexual misconduct should force a politician with a record of support for women to resign from office. Because he happens to be a good guy on some issues, and people are confused. That is from Aaron Villard, head of the Vote Run Lead, a national organization that aims to elect more women to a office. It has a national office in Minnesota. Villard, I guess, Villard, spoke after the first two accusations against Franklin, and before the Huffington Post's third and fourth allegations. The website cited two unidentified women. Won't spend any time on that. The first said that Al Franken groped her when she was posing for a picture after a June 2007 event hosted by the Minnesota Women's Political Caucus in Minneapolis. The second told the Post basically the same story. And on the same tour, the former Saturday Night Live cast member also nudged from a photo of his hand roving over, this is his Tweedna, how do you pronounce her name, breasts as she slept. On Monday, a second woman accused Franken of unwanted sexual touching. That's Lindsay Mays. She contacted CNN, but he grabbed her buttocks while she posed at the Minnesota State Fair. Her husband actually was the photographer there. I've taken thousands of pictures at the State Fair surrounded by hundreds of people, and I certainly don't remember taking that picture. That was the story there. In Thursday's evening statement, the senator wrote, I have met thousands of people and taken thousands of photos, often in crowded and chaotic situations. I'm a warm person. I hug people. I learned from recent stories that in some of those encounters, I crossed the line for some women, and I know that any number is too many. Some women have found my greetings or embraces for a hug or a photo inappropriate, and I respect their feelings about that. I thought a lot recently, in recent days, about how that could happen, and recognize that I need to be much more careful and sensitive to those situations. I feel terrible that I have made some women feel badly. This is a rehash here of what I read earlier, and for that I am sorry. I want to make sure that it never happens again. And let me say again to Minnesotans that I am sorry for putting them through this, and I am committed to regaining their trust. A spokesman said Franken will speak with the media on a Sunday. So that is from Al Franken. A passing note while we're in the Midwest, I've looked at some of the temperatures in places like Dickinson, North Dakota, and across North Dakota on Thanksgiving Day. The temperatures were in the 70s and in the 60s, unheard of for the state of North Dakota. Let me go to the other side of this coin here. That much has been written about the Al Franken incident, and the incident here, but now that we go to a number of other things going on here, and this is from Meteor Light, I think, but I thought we had a different story here. This is about Al Franken being railroaded. We have a better one here, but no doubt he is being railroaded. We'll accept that part of it. And this is the one here. Here we go. This is different opinions from the Democrats. This is from the Democracy Guardian. Al Franken, the obvious setup, and liberals took to bait. We talked a little bit about this on the Thanksgiving special, with all the sleazy and disgusting and lurid sexual problems that seem to be part of the Republican official way of life. It's only a matter of time before there's a lash against a Democrat. This is not to say that there aren't any liberals that are never part of this mix. It's just saying that the overly religious doctrine that conservatives follow does not lead to repress sexual conditions. And so scanning any Democrat, it maintains both a logic and a powerful presence, as well as one that is knee-deep in calling out these Republicans liars and lying and Russian gate. Alf is both popular and potential to take down Al Franken, and so many women named named Leanne Tweeden has come forward to accuse Al Franken of a sexual assault on a tour in Afghanistan in 2006. Now that was the first one out there. Conservatives know the liberal market and also understand that if they throw out a piece of red meat, that the accuser is a well-respected Democrat having bad behavior. Democrats will climb over each other to rip him or her apart. That is exactly what happened, as many liberals call for Al Franken to step down and refuse to believe or look at the logic behind the accusations. Did I mispronounce? Well, anyway, it doesn't much matter. Al Franken's background as a comedian, his celebrity on the comic show Saturday Night Live, having attended many shows in LA's famed comedy store in the 80s. I am also well aware that the skits that were performed were away from the camera and were often salty, and that makes Al Franken's past a hot potential to find some too questionable situations when you add his work with the USO, which is a little different kind of situation here. Al's history, let us say up front that as a woman and lifelong feminist, I'm absolutely support women coming forward when they have been sexually assaulted or abused. There has been a history of demeaning women in both the courtroom and in life that almost refuses to put themselves through the process. I'm trying to get my pointer adjusted here. In addition, 36 women from Saturday Night Live have come forward in support of Al Franken. Now, altogether, 36 women who worked on the show signed a statement that includes the original cast of Jane Curtin and Laurie Ann Newman. The signatures include performers, writers, staff, people there. I didn't know about this. Both Saturday Night Live and the USO stage skits as well known to be over the top when it comes to the topic of sex, no doubt about it. But as the dawdling media grabs onto accusatory stories and runs with it their typical non-journalistic way to improve ratings. And this is really what it is all about, a National Enquirer type thing, examining Franken's history and combining with Tweeden's. There is a strong smell of rat, and rat has a name of fox, and the conservative media, no doubt about that. They tend to set this up, and people believe it. The accuser, see if you find the accuser. In this analysis, there's absolutely no slut here what Tweeden did as a model, posing for a variety of magazines. Scantily clad or not does not have any bearing on this situation. However, there are some rather suspicious alliances that Tweeden has adopted over the years. That includes being a guest and friend of none other than Sean Hannity, who holds a disdain for Al Franken, no doubt about it, raised concerns there. So this is something you have to look at, not what the accuser does, but the accuser's background. But with that said, we must also take a hard look and recognize that this is not a black and white situation. Believing all accusers, no matter what, is just as bad as not believing them. There is no justice served if we do not consider that there may be some women that make accusations based upon personal agendas. We've had that in the case of Mr. Bill Cosby. The accusation and Al's apology, Tweeden accusation, have run a gamut of comments, but basically entail that Al made use of a photo op in which he acted like he was grabbing her breasts while she was sleeping and wearing a military vest. She also accused him of being overly aggressive about pressing the skit in their stage kiss there, and we heard all about that. Won't go into that situation. But remember, this was a skit. They were playing like they were sleeping. Look at the USO tour. Again, the performance is well known for inclusion of things over the top. There's a little bit of repeating here. Not so innocent in this way, indeed. Situation of a woman coming forward to access an attacker. Why did Roger Stone know and tweet about it 12 hours before Tweeden's announcement came out, as described in by the Miami CBS outlet, hours after the allegation of sexual conduct were made public. Leveled against Al Franken. Roger Stone, a self-described master of political dark arts, suggested he knew the attack on the Minnesota senator was about to be made. So in other words, these things are all staged for days after Tweeden's announcement was made. Many liberals refuse to take a view of anything that might smell of well-planned and orchestrated smear campaign. Tweeden has long been aligned with Fox News, and liberals themselves are including Franklin along with Judge Moore of Alabama. So in other words, a totally different kind of situation here. Justice is not a blind belief. One of the problems with this recent revelation is that people are aligning themselves on one side only. There is a terrible new habit of believing anything or everything an accuser states, and this is a problem in the courtroom. For some of us have been in courtrooms before and been involved in cases of sexual abuse, which is euphemistically called at one time rape, to appear to be disbelieved, considering that there is untruths or even a personal agenda appears to be disbelieved, would lead to an appearance of a throwback to times gone by. So some are simply believing no matter what. There's no doubt about this. And there are people with agendas that believe this sort of stuff. An opportunity for Senator Franken, now that the dust has somewhat settled on this story. Some liberals are waking up with a bad hangover, while those that are on the believe side have unfriended their Facebook or Twitter friends and asked logical questions. There are many perceptions in this situation. In a realistic state, Franklin had been a long supporter of women's rights. We know that. He had stepped out in the spotlight of the dodling media and had spent time there, no doubt about that. And let me finish this last sentence. After all, it's sure got the attention away from Roy Moore and Russian Gate and the tax struggle and many other things. And this is where, it is a little different situation here. I was trying to get the offer of this. We kind of got carried away here. This is the just a second here. We'll get this. The SCO tours. Very long article here, but nonetheless we posted it, and now we're still trying to get to the history, and my screen is not cooperating with me. But we are kind of struggling to get to the top of the article, and we don't have it because of some of the software we have on here. Oh, okay. This is Novi. N-O-V-I. Novi. Anyway, who S. Novi is. She wrote the article, and away she goes with the article. So you've heard this, but again, you have to look at these things with a grain of salt. Let me just quickly do this while I'm here. David Axelrod rips Trump's narcissistic Thanksgiving message to troops. President Trump is getting a lot of negative backlash from his Thanksgiving Day message to military troops overseas. In fact, one former President Obama right-hand person, David Axelrod, put this out here. The former aide commented on tweets that DJ Trump put out during a teleconference with troops deployed overseas. Trump congratulated them, saying that previous administrations weren't letting you win, and some were offended as Trump was implying that the military wasn't winning before he arrived in office. Well, he's been doing that for a very long time. Many of Trump's critics blasted his speech for being too much about him. Well, his speech is always about him. Nothing unusual there. Let me fly on here to probably won't have the Republican bill is class war. There's no doubt about that. Ryan Cooper. This is published on, I'll just start this out. We talked about the tax bill. The absolute horror of the Republican tax bill has been somewhat obscured recently by the never-ending deluge of mass shootings, rambling of madness from DJ Trump, sexual allegations. This goes back to what Miss Novi was talking about there, and this is basically the big problem. Let me head on to West Virginia. This is Senator Meacham, who is up for re-election in 2018. Shirley Moore Capito, she's daughter of Arch Moore. All-time Meacham is undecided. He's holding out there. The undecided interview requests to talk about the current legislation. He doesn't have anything to say about it. In August, he drew national headlines. He declined to sign a letter with Senate Democrats. The only problem is that normally these middle-of-the-road Clinton-type Democrats try this trick. They tried in Arkansas there when, I forget her name now. Anyway, she's running for re-election. Clinton went down there. She still lost. She won the primary against our man, Mr. Hall was his name? Anyway, whatever his name was. And she lost badly to the Republicans. Didn't help out. He's coming up for re-election in 2018. Could be a pivotal vote with the Senate's thin margin, 52 Republicans and counting. Senator Capito said in the interview last week that she's planning to vote for the package. Doesn't do anything for West Virginia at all. That includes a cut to child care, and we'll be talking about the CHIPS Act and roughly doubling the standard deduction, both which expire. Now, this is very important to understand this, that the so-called standard deduction will expire in 2025, but you'll get a few years of it. It's not permanent. When asked if the repeal of the individual mandates perturbed her at all, Capito said, while some see it as a health care issue, I see it as a tax penalty. Well, she's taking a safe ground there. According to analysts from the Congressional Budget Office repeal the mandates that would reduce the budget deficit. This is what it's all about: $333 million between 2018 and 2027. One of Capito's biggest hopes for the bill is lowering the corporate tax rate to 20% from the present, 35%? Anyway, let's move on here as we move through this Friday Jobber. We were looking at the Washington Post here, and let's get to CHIPS. This is the prepares to shut down the children's health care program if Congress doesn't act. States will shut it down, and that's the only thing they can do. Its popularity had bipartisan support. We are very concerned, and the reason is that Congress hasn't shown a strong ability to get stuff done. That's on Bruce Leslie, president of the Washington base First Focus, a child and family advocacy group. Others paying close attention. This is before January 1. Everybody is waiting and thinking Congress is going to act. They probably will, but you can't run a health care program that way. That is from Lisa Nebelo, the Chief Deputy Director of the Virginia State Department of Medical Assistance Services. More CHIP families are the ones that earn too much for Medicaid but have little affordable private health care. Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which administers the program, sent out a notice that on November the 9th detailing the options if CHIP is not funded. States would be forced to end the program, will need to determine whether to enroll children that are eligible for Medicaid or whether the family will need to seek other insurance opportunities. The program, which is credited with helping to bring the rate of uninsured children to a record low of 4.5%, and under the Obamacare, the federal government sharply boosted a matching rate. Congress has been unable to agree upon how to pay for the $15 billion program, just canceled one ship. The states of Arizona, California, Minnesota, Ohio, Oregon, and the District of Columbia will run out of CHIPS money at the end of the year on the 31st of December. Texas plans to notify families in January that the program could end. Funding problems there were exacerbated by Hurricane Harvey. And other states in Maryland developed their own CHIPS program as an extension of Medicaid, and so are required by law to find a way to keep it going. As in Maryland, the governor there has been criticized by our own Ben Jealous for not having a backup plan. So in other words, this is the heart of politics, no doubt about that, and the entire CHIPS program. On the week that was, we'll go over the CHIPS program, a study out of Georgetown. Flash here, a Nazis banned from his own campus in Florida. Now, this is a Nazi that has been self-proclaimed Nazi, banned from the University of North Florida. I have to ask H about this. Ken Parker, a 37-year-old naval veteran who once served as the Grand Dragon, the KKK in Jacksonville, Florida, was initially suspended after posting a picture of himself on Facebook holding an assault rifle and calling out students who challenged his beliefs, saying he will shut them down. Not unusual there. So they've sent him bye-bye. And as we run down on time, a number of young Americans going to farm jobs will do this on the week that was. We did not have very much sports activity on, well, in fact, we had none in the NBA on Thursday night. This is Black Friday. Let me just end here with Black Friday. I almost forgot it, how it got its name. It was after the Thanksgiving holiday, and merchants decided to restore it, and then found out that they had made a proper choice there. We can find it. the Black Friday story. Oh, well. Anyway, nonetheless, it was initially called Black Friday. Retail merchants embraced it, and it then became a holiday, a shopping holiday, let's say that. It's later today where we go with Black Friday, and Black Friday has temporarily disappeared here. But anyway, it is a day, and what has happened is people are still going into stores. Some stores are open today. Some of the mega malls around the country were closed, like the Mall of America in the upper Midwest, and many more shopping malls. But some of the stores were open, the Walmarts of the world, etc. People rushed in, and later today it will be online mania. So we'll see how that works out as we get the numbers from this all-important shopping spree. They call it Black Friday weekend now, more so than anything else. So we'll have it, and we'll look at it and see exactly where it goes. And then, of course, we have a Cyber Monday. So there are a lot of shopping activities out there. And on numbers, man, we'll start to look preliminarily at some of these numbers as they come in. And also at the tax program of DJ Trump, the Republicans, etc. And on unemployment, the levels now down in the low of 4.2, 4.3%. And where this goes in an economy, those are some of the things on numbers, man. And we have about 75, 80% of the open source report finished, so it'll get out this weekend also. And the Robert Mugabe, President Mugabe's program there, he has, of course, resigned, and the crocodile has returned. We have the crocodile's initial speech. He'll be sworn in later today in Harare, Zimbabwe. So we'll have all those things coming up. We're busy as a bee, no doubt about that. Have a good weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you on the week that was, and some of the programming parts that were left out tonight will be there, since there'll be no Uncle Carl Robe on that. And the Monday morning quarterback will review the NBA and the college football games that were played this weekend.